Decline and Visigoth conquest. In the reigns of Athengild and Levigild, the Byzantines were unable to push their offensive forward, and the Visigoths made some successful pushes back. Around 570, Levigild ravaged Bastinica or Bastania, the region of Baza, and took Medina Sidonia through treachery of an insider named Framenus, possibly a Goth. He may have taken Baza and certainly raided into the environs of Malaga, defeating a relief army sent from there. He took many cities and fortresses in the Guadalquivir Valley and defeated a large army of Rustici, or rustics. According to the John of Bicarium, who may have been referring to an army of bandits called Bagatei, who had established themselves in the disputed buffer zone between Gothic and Roman control. In 577, in Orspeda, a region under Byzantine control, Levigild defeated more Rustici rebelliantes, probably Basqued. After 2 seasons of campaigns against the Romans, however, Levigild concentrated his military efforts elsewhere. During the rule of Ricard, the Byzantines again took the offensive and probably even reigned or gained ground. Ricard recognized the legitimacy of the Byzantine frontier and wrote to Pope Gregory requesting a copy to be sent from the Emperor Maurice. Gregory simply replied that the text of the treaty had been lost in a fire during Justinian's reign and warned Ricard that he would not want it found because it would probably be granted the Byzantines more territory than they actually then possessed, August of 599. Levigild's gains against the Roman government were greater than the Roman reconquest of Ricard's reign. The Byzantine province of Spania was in decline. Among later kings, Witteric campaigned frequently against Spania, though his generals were more successful than he. The latter captured the small town of Gazgonza, Gundamar, moved the pyramidal see of Cartagenas from Byzantine Cartagena to Visigoth Toledo in 610, and campaigned against Spania in 611, but to no effect. Sigismund, more than any king before him, became the scourge of the Byzantines in Spain. In 614 and 615 he carried out 2 massive expeditions against them and conquered Malaga before 619, when its bishops appeared on the Second Council of Seville. He conquered as far as the Mediterranean coast and razed many cities to the ground, enough even to catch the attention of Frankish chronicler Fredegar. Sigismund probably also razed Cartagena, which was so completely desolated that it never reappeared in the Visigoth Spain. Because the Goths were unable to undertake decent sieges, they were forced to reduce the defenses of all fortified places that took in order to prevent later armies from using them against them. Because Cartagena was destroyed, but Malaga was spared, it has been inferred that the former fell first, while the Byzantine presence was still large enough to constitute a threat. Malaga fell sometime after, when the Byzantines were so reduced as to no longer form a danger to the Visigoth hegemony over the whole peninsula. In 621, the Byzantines still held a few towns, but Sulinta recovered them shortly after, and by 624 an entire province of Spania was in Visigoth hands, save the Balearic Islands, which were an economic backwater in the 7th century. Like the Sardinian Giudicati and the Corsica in that period, the Balearics were only nominally Byzantine. They were finally separate from the emperor and the Saracen incursions of the 8th century through the 10th century. Sometime during the joint reign of Egega and Wisita, a Byzantine fleet raided the coast of the southern Spain and was driven off by a local count named Theudemir. The dating of this event is disputed. It may have occurred as part of Letonis's expedition to relieve Carthage, under assault by the Arabs in 697, perhaps later around 702, or perhaps late in Wisita's reign. What is almost universally accepted is that it was isolated incident connected with the other military activities, probably against the Arabs or the Berbers, and no, not an attempt to re-establish a lost province of Spania. As Professor Thompson states, we know nothing whatever of the context of this strange event.